the magnificent Pacific coast of California. Today, we move inland over the majestic hills into the internationally known Laguna Seca.
The corner behind me here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca is one of the most famous corners on the planet. It's a 4-story drop that everybody always talks about whenever you come here. There are some corners globally that are just recognized by name. Eau Rouge, 130R, Curva Grande, and the Corkscrew. But sometimes it's the corners that are less talked about that are even more impressive. The original configuration took drivers through a very fast downhill left kink at turn 1, which cut through to what is now turn 5. It was an incredibly fast sequence with a huge compression, and speeds climbed over 150 miles an hour before the left-hander after the bridge at turn 6. The original track was 1.9 miles in length, but in order to satisfy MotoGP's minimum track length requirements, they added about 4/10 of a mile, including Andretti hairpin turns 3, 4, and 5, bringing the total length of the track up to about 2.24 miles in 1988. This is turn 6. It doesn't have a name or the global recognition of the Corkscrew just up the hill. But what it does have is this huge compression here, this massive curb on the inside. It requires so much precision to get this just right. If you miss the apex by a foot, you're off by 20 feet at the exit. And if you get a little too tight to the apex, you hit this thing, this big nasty yellow curb, and this will send you for the ride of a lifetime here at Laguna Seca. The entrance to turn 6 is blind and incredibly fast under the bridge. And when you finally get to the corner, you hit the ground so hard in this compression as the banking falls away from you that the cars actually gouge the racetrack. There's lines drilled into the pavement here from cars slamming this lap after lap after lap. It's a true test of a car setup and a driver's bravery.
Over my shoulder, thousands of spectators are getting ready to watch the world's fastest sports cars as they blaze around this road course. 25 of the world's best drivers, 14,000 horsepower waiting to be let loose. The Laguna Seca Can-Am race is about to get underway.
One of America's most historic racetracks, WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, 11 turns, 2.238 miles, and it all begins with a fast left down through turn 1 into the Andretti hairpin. Kyle Heyer alongside Jacob Gettens. We're about to go drifting. Jacob, tell me about this racetrack from a drifter's perspective and how they will attack this place.
Yeah, it provides a lot of opportunity to try some things that we don't get to do at the competition level. I mean, the hairpin is not something we get at that kind of speed. It does allow us to have a big run up for those entries. Even turns like 5 and 6 where we have a ton of speed coming up to it, and it's just more or less a simple 90. Gives you a ton of opportunity to make a ton of wheel speed, a ton of tire smoke, and really set things up. And then obviously the Corkscrew, where drifters are going to take that line a little bit differently than what you're traditionally going to see in road racing. And then the big downhill into 9 is a ton of fun, especially if you've kind of, you've got the merit to be able to hold on to the car all the way through that. And then, 10, not too bad. And then 11, a pretty quick, kind of deceiving 90-degree turn, even a little bit over that, bringing you out to the straightaway. So it's a ton of fun for drifters. Everyone's trying some different stuff, and really for them, it's find the spot where the crowd is and make sure you're putting on the best show. And we've already seen that so far in drifting earlier on, and guarantee in this session we're going to see a lot more of it.
Look at that packed field down here on the paddock area for WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Welcome to GRIDLIFE Laguna. My name's Kyle Heyer, joined by Jacob Gettens and Jonathan Grace down in the paddock, doing some great field reporting for us here this weekend. It's time for GRIDLIFE Drift to head out on the racetrack and demonstrate speed, style, and execution at crazy high speeds around this racetrack. And we talked earlier today about how this is sort of a unique experience for drifters, even the professionals, where you're typically drifting just a small segment of the racetrack. And while the most spectacular section to drift is the Corkscrew down through turn 10, the whole track is available to you here today as your playground.
Yeah, and we've already seen the likes of like Matt Kaufman already coming through and trying to basically link all the way from 1 into the Andretti hairpin. Not an easy thing to do, especially without managing the track, which is where you kind of swing back and forth halfway through the straightaway. It's a tough thing to do, but he's nailed it a couple times already. You can see the skid marks on the lower part of your screen right there from Kaufman coming through and just trying some crazy stuff. So really cool layout, really cool setup, and just provides an opportunity for these drivers to do stuff that they normally just don't get to do.
Yeah, and to do it in style. And again, we talked about all the drivers that are here with pro cars. Some are here with they call them the party cars here, cars that they built just for fun and to go run each other's doors and things like that. You mentioned Matt Kaufman a couple of years ago in our first event here. He initiated a drift at about 150 miles an hour on the front straight, carried it all the way down to the Andretti hairpin. That clip, no matter what the conditions are, but it's a cool spectacle, and for the fans around here at this racetrack, it's the only time they get to see this on an annual basis.
Yeah, I was here 2 years ago when that happened. I was chatting with some of the locals that basically make a little picnic out here and hang out and watch all the action. They'd obviously never seen anything like it before, so they were pretty stoked on it, and it was cool to introduce them to some drifting stuff as we get Matt Field out there, C8 Corvette, and then a couple of Ukrainian drivers behind that in the Monte Carlo, as well as the S series. I think it's a S4 Audi, and yeah, just something a little bit different. That's kind of the cool thing with all motorsports, and drifting is no different. Getting to do some crazy stuff with different chassis, and some of them are a little bit more competitive. You'll see the S chassis, the BMWs. Those are kind of the big thing right now. C6 Corvette as well. C7, I mean, kind of the same thing, but when you start to get into the unique chassis, they're not going to be as competitive when it comes to high-level drifting. They just don't have the suspension kinematics to be able to do what you need them to do at the highest levels. But when you come out here, you can drive those cars, and you can still have a ton of fun, put on a great show, and arguably get way more attention than some of the pro cars do, because you're driving a Monte Carlo, you're driving an Audi, you're driving, you know, whatever. So it's a cool mix of both performance and style when we've got it out here. And as you alluded to, we have a mix of some pro-level cars, some pro spec level cars, which is one under pro, as well as a ton of party cars. So yeah, it's a pretty nuts grid that we get out here this weekend.
Yeah, these names will be synonymous and familiar to most people that follow the drift world. Cole Richards, Dylan Hughes, Forrest Wang, Matt Kaufman, Matt Field, Nate Hamilton, Zendara Kennedy, Chris Forsberg, Hertz out here, Corey Hosford, Justin Pollock, Evan Bogovich, Odi Bakchis, Farouk is out here as well, Travis Reeder's here. Just so many drivers that have are known for participating in drift competitions around the United States and the world, and they're just here hanging out this weekend. They enjoy the non-competitive aspect of this.
Yeah, and there's drivers, as you talked about with Hurt there, and now Corey Hosford, who are making entire careers out of non-competitive drifting. They're just going out, they're putting on a show. They've realized that your partners and sponsors, they want a lot more than results. They want you to create cool media and do amazing things, and they're making full careers out of just that. So competition is definitely necessary in drifting. It develops and allows us to have some incredible parts, but yeah, I mean, having a good time is also a massive part of that. So there is, I believe, Zelinsky with Larry Chen following behind in the Supra, so that'll make for some crazy shots.
It sure will. If you go to Instagram and go to GridLife Official, you can catch some of these shots later this weekend and after the weekend is complete. Larry Chen giving us the up-close view of Zelinsky heading through turn 3 here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. A little off track there, a little dirt drop. Nice smooth off-track areas here, though. There is a lot of dirt and dust to kick up.
Yeah, it's not that bad, and I mean, drifters will always find every bit of track that they can, for better or for worse. And I mean, thankfully on that one, not too bad, but you can already see some of the pace that's coming down. To put it in perspective, a lot of the pro-level cars on a drag strip can run 10 seconds or even sub 10-second quarter-mile times. Just to give you an idea, like, you might think, oh, they're really loose, but a lot of them now, especially at the high level of drifting, they're running some crazy alignment stuff, things like progressive tow, where as that suspension is compressing, it is towing the car more and more to get more forward bite. So it's pretty wild what is happening now in drifting.
I love this over the crest there. You can't even see the corkscrew coming up. You just have to know it's there. Then a 4-story drop down the hill. Things you could only do in Forza. Now you can do it GridLife and at one of the most famous tracks on the planet. The whole piece we did at the opening of the show where we talk about the corkscrew, it's one of probably the top 5 most famous corners in the world. You could argue what corners end up on that list, but if you say corkscrew, you're talking about Laguna Seca, and to drift around it is just unbelievable. I mean, the history this place has here since 1957, and then add a new chapter with a sport that is gaining popularity in the 21st century, and it really has exploded in popularity. Things like Formula Drift and Drift Masters and all the other championships that have come from it. There's so much more to explore as it gains fandom.
Yeah, it's wild. I think FD has sold out almost every venue this season already. Drift Masters, pretty much the same thing. I came back from Poland not that long ago. 55,000 people in the PG in Narodowy Stadium, so their national football stadium. Getting a little crazy there. Yeah. So yeah, the sport's growing like it's nuts. It's going so fast, and I'm happy to just be along for the ride at this point.
Yeah, you and I actually met up at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta earlier this year, where the Formula Drift event there, we had our IBOC GLTC and GRIDLIFE TrackBattle Championship drivers out there, and it was a lot of fun to kind of meld the worlds together. It's been something that this 2 series have wanted to do for a very long time, and I think there was a lot of successes there, and the GRIDLIFE drivers really enjoyed having all the FD eyeballs on them that weekend. That was super cool.
Yeah, it's a good trade-off as well, and I think seeing a lot of the cross-pollination between drifting and whether it's wheel-to-wheel or time attack or whatever it is phenomenal, and it shows how difficult both of those things are. So that is Chris Forsberg's car, but it's not Chris Forsberg who's behind the wheel. One of his crew guys' name's escaping me at this point, but that is one of the party cars. Looks very much like the pro car. Pulled all the graphics off, and that is all carbon fiber all the way around on that car. So
great job. Their team builds cars to the highest level.
Yeah.
They actually were responsible for building a beautiful Nissan 370Z that ran in IBOC GLTC for a couple of years with Brian Heitcotter. That car, by the way, currently for sale.
Yeah, I saw that.
So if you're interested in buying a pointy-end IBOC GLTC car that was driven by an exceptional driver, has a couple of race wins under its belt, I think they've still got that thing up for sale somewhere. I think I last saw it on Facebook, so check it out. But here's Matt Kaufman, and again, we talked about how much of a wave he's made. 160-mile-an-hour entry at Road America a couple of months ago in our Summer Apex Festival. He has just been always the show. One of the big-time cars out there as well.
Yeah, talking about the build quality behind the vehicles, you have to remember that drifting is one of the most abusive motorsports on a drivetrain, period. I mean, I would put it up there against rally, and in some cases, it's even harder on a drivetrain than rally. They're launching these cars, they're clutch kicking it, so take any car, put it at full revs, have it gripped up, and then slam the clutch in and out just to get it to brake traction. That's not easy, and they're sometimes doing that 10-15 times in a lap. So it's pretty wild. There's Cole Richards there. That's Dayo Shihara, former FD champion. I thought it was Ryan Turk at first, but when you see a red, I mean, in this case, I believe it's a BRZ, but 8.6, you immediately go to Turk. But yeah, Dayo Shihara, incredible driver, amazing race car driver, period.
Yeah.
But yeah, cutting his teeth in the drifting world, and now seeing him out doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah, we actually, we talked earlier about Jeremiah Burton and his experience in the SROTC America Championship. Dayo Shihara also ran in SROTC America for some time, and has some own road racing chops as well as obviously the drifting experience, and that skill goes a long way. Silver C5 over there, stuck at turn 3.5. Yeah,
hopefully it looks like he's moving now. Yeah, it looks like he's moving now. Hopefully get off the racing line, and then Odie Bakshi's out front, Matt Field behind him, and then Forrest Wang in that green S15. One of the most stylish drivers in drifting, taking a step away from FD. Hopefully he comes back. We're in a kind of a new era of drifting where style is a lot more rewarded than it used to be. So the timing for him wasn't great. He kind of came out of what I dubbed the technical era. He came all the way through the speed era, the technical era. We're now back into a very fluid and fun style as we see all three of those cars. He's back there somewhere. There it is. 3 cars coming through the corkscrew. That's iconic for sure.
It was such a cool thing to see tandems and triplets and whatever else you want to call it. Didn't Matt Field have taillights and a rear bumper on this car earlier today, or am I just tripping?
He did. Had a tire blowout. Realized that trying to do 3 laps on these tires are not easy. These, most of the time at the pro level, these tires will last a maximum of 120 seconds on a run. So that's active drifting time. So trying to do 3 laps like that is pretty tough. You could possibly, depending on the tire, the brand, and the horsepower, do 1 full lap of this track drifting nonstop, but it would be incredibly difficult to do so.
Well, I see black flags displayed at the moment, so it sounds like they are dispatching some trucks to go get something or someone. Off, you see Mike Cohn there in the orange shirt holding the FCP Euro Audi, and dispatching some trucks, and they're off and away down towards somewhere. I don't know exactly where.
Might be that Corvette. I know we kind of passed by Zendara Kennedy there for a moment, and I can see a few of these vehicles coming around. So
that BRZ is so pretty. Dye's car.
Yeah, I mean, Dye's always had incredible looking vehicles, always unique engine packages as well, opting for like big turbo LS, I believe just before he retired from FD, and partnered up with an absolute legend in car setup and drifting, Mike Kojima. He's one of the idols when it comes to car setup, an incredible mind when it comes to drifting and suspension setup, and it's not just limited to drifting. I mean, road course as well.
Yep, and you're right about that. So there's the silver C5 that we were talking about earlier, and they're going to dispatch that safety truck out there. But we caught up a little earlier with Jonathan Grace and TJ Hunt, who's out here not only driving the Rush Series car, but also his Toyota GR Supra. Here's Jonathan Grace and TJ Hunt.
Next to TJ Hunt, who's just strapping up and getting ready to go back on track again in the Supra. We saw him just a couple minutes ago. How'd the first run feel? This thing's pretty crazy going down the corkscrew. It looks like it.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. You know, it's the first session of the day, so there's a lot of traffic out there. There's a lot of different varieties of skill levels. So the first session was like just traffic and just everyone kind of getting settled. But it's a blast, man. The corkscrew there's nothing like it. So in a car like this, man, you're just holding on and smiling the whole time.
What's it like going down the corkscrew sideways? Because most times in most series, you go down the thing straight. It's blind already, but it's got to be even more blind when you're pitched sideways.
Yeah, no, it is blind, and we sit so low in the drift car, so it's hard to kind of peer over the door because when we enter in, we're looking that way as we drive. So you kind of have to just find a marker, like the fence line, or find someone with a bright shirt, and that they stay there. You just kind of aim for the same spot every time.
Well, it looks like a ton of fun from the outside. We'll be watching. Have a blast out there.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, TJ.
Thanks, Jonathan. TJ Hunt has been with us for most of the year running in the GRIDLIFE Rush Series, Jacob. And again, when he gets a chance to bring out the drift car, he brings it out. And of course, this is sort of a local event to him. So glad to have him run into double duty again here, but always a pleasure to chat with and great to get his insight here. And again, he has a YouTube channel. If you're not familiar with TJ Hunt, a very successful YouTube channel where he does all sorts of builds. They've got their Street Hunter Designs wide body kit group. And man, they do some really cool builds. I think one of the interesting things for me is he's had this build process lately of buying FIA GT3 car bodywork and basically modifying it to put it on the road-going cars. And if you're familiar with the road cars versus GT3 spec cars, they are not the same. They are silhouette cars. And watching him and his team sort of figure out how to bolt all these crazy carbon wide-body pieces onto these things and figure out how to make them look right has just been really fun for me. So they did a BMW M4 a couple of years ago, and now they're working on a 488 for SEMA. So it's a really cool build. If you're interested, check it out. But TJ, always a great guy to have around.
Yeah, it's super great mind. I mean, really pushing the sport as well. I would love to see him drive more competitively, get into that, but he's one of those drivers that is making his living by not competing, and I mean, that's phenomenal. The Supra, great chassis, one of the most difficult chassis to set up when it comes to high-level drifting. Just the suspension throw in the rear end is pretty tough. The way that the front suspension is angled can cause some binding issues. There's lots of technical sides of it that make it a little bit difficult once you get above kind of just the party car level.
Yeah, the Supra is a really interesting car because, you know, it's a lot smaller than it looks. And, and there's actually a reason why it looks like that. And the original design for the GR Supra came from what was the Toyota FT1 concept, which was originally supposed to be a much larger car. Now, when Toyota worked with BMW to sort of on a shared chassis platform between this and the BMW Z4, they had to scale all those the visual components down. So the car looks proportional, but it's actually much smaller than it was originally designed to be. And it's a great grip car with that soft rear suspension. It really digs out of corners really nicely. And of course, the engines are known for being extremely strong. You can bolt those things on up to 750, 800 wheel horsepower.
Yeah.
But as you said, there's compromises that have to be made for suspension travel and steering when you need all the angle for drift.
Yeah, it's things get really complicated in drifting when it comes to trying to get the wheels to turn 70 degrees, and issues like over centering can be a part of it. But yeah, they were never really built with drifting in mind. And yeah, it'll be interesting as the sport gets bigger if we start to see some chassis that are a little bit more built with drifting in mind. I remember somebody within the development team of Toyota kind of hinted that there's lots of room to fit a 2J in there. And we see that swap done quite a lot, although that B-Series engine, as you talked about, especially now that they've kind of changed the exhaust manifold setup in it, it's no longer as integrated with the head. Yeah, 700-800 horsepower, pretty easy to make on them.
You said something about over centering. Can you explain that concept to me? I think I have an understanding of where you're going with that, but it's not a term I've heard before.
Yeah, so essentially when you're at full locks, when the wheel is all the way turned over, there is a point within the geometry where the tie rod has now gone past center of its pivot point. And when it does so, the steering can completely lock at that point. Within drifting, basically all four corners have been completely redeveloped by a bunch bunch of different brands in order to allow them to drift. So you get angle kits, or what we call them up front. We call them grip kits in the rear, and they will adapt and change things to do that. We go as far as moving steering racks from either a front steer to a rear steer to help with issues like that. Another thing that comes up a lot that maybe doesn't happen as much in road racing is acronym.
Sure.
So how the wheels are turning at full lock, it's pretty vital.
Yeah, there's a number of people here that we mentioned that have a big following. One of those drivers we mentioned is Hurt, and Jonathan caught up with them earlier.
I'm down here with Hurt. You've got some track experience here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, but you were telling me you're looking to maybe clean things up a little bit this year and maximize the weekend.
Yeah, most definitely. This is the third year here with my RX-7, known as the Torque Stallion. First year, I had some boost issues. Second year, transmission failure. So third year, this thing is as buttoned as it can be. Fingers crossed, but I'm trying to do some silly stuff out there on track. So.
Well, it doesn't get sillier than trying to go sideways down through the corkscrew. What can we expect from you at one of the coolest tracks on the calendar?
I mean, I'm not going to do any Matt Kaufman stuff, but I am going to try to tear up the corkscrew. I may try to throw a back gear too in turn one. Have some fun, you know?
Absolutely. It's been a fun season for you so far. You've gotten plenty of track time. What are you excited about here specifically at Laguna?
The corkscrew is just such a special thing that we get to do. Shout out to GRIDLIFE for making this happen. Never in my life did I think they would let us drift on the corkscrew. So that's a super exciting thing for me. And honestly, the whole track is really fun. So just getting to experience this even 15 minutes at a time is massive.
Well, one of the most unique cars at one of the most unique circuits on the calendar. Best of luck this weekend.
Thanks, Jonathan. I'm not going to do Matt Kaufman stuff, Jacob.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
No, it's tough. Matt set such a crazy precedent early on, but I would say a backy into one would be pretty epic if you can pull that off. That is not an easy thing to do. We call it a backy, but backwards entry, where it's what it sounds like. You're going backwards into a corner. There's a lot of lore and history around the backy and how one should do it correctly. So it's an amazing thing to be able to pull off, but to pull off a true perfect backy is incredibly difficult. Whoa, using all the track.
Yeah, there was a backy here going to the Andretti hairpin last year that Jared DeAnda and I almost got in a fight over. I would have lost that fight, so I didn't pick it. But yeah, into the gravel.
Not a guy you want to be fighting with, that's for sure.
No, certainly not. Off into the weeds for Monte Carlo, and well, if weeds could grow there, it'd be the weeds, I suppose.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like much has been growing in California lately. So, but yeah, I mean, beautiful shots. You can see just how much smoke is getting kicked up here. For people wondering, I mean, tires-wise, basically everybody is running 18s, and you're going to find a range, probably the low end of this weekend, maybe as low as a 235 width, probably up to a 285, 295. Technically, in FDU, they do allow for a 315, which is pretty nuts. And then most drivers are going to be anywhere between 200 to 300 tread wear. Although over in Europe, they get a little crazy. There's some 140 tread wear tires that drivers have been using that are crazy sticky. I was talking to Adam Jabay about it yesterday, and I'm like, they literally drip rubber off when they come back in off the line. You can hear how sticky they are rolling up to the start line. So
a little bit of an amended session here because of a couple of cleanups, but that's going to do it for the drift session here. Let's have a quick look at the highlights from this one. Short but sweet, and some excellent action by virtue of some of our famed drivers coming out here to join us this weekend at GRIDLIFE Laguna. There's a great look at the packed paddock here, Jacob, but in a moment we'll take a look back and kick things off pretty early on the outlap there with big sends down the hill.
Yeah, Forrest Wang, I mean, making a big showing. Not entirely sure it is not BMW, but yeah, the Audi is always going to make for a good show, and that was how we kind of opened the show there. Zelensky getting followed by Larry Chen, and then three FD drivers, some of the most notable names, Odi Bakshi's, Matt Field, and Forrest Wang once again coming through the corkscrew. Super cool to see, and I believe that is Forrest's full FD car, something a little bit different. Mercedes, you don't get a ton of some of the shots and opportunities that they get.
Colin Zielinski bringing it down the hill right in front of the Larry Chen camera car. GRIDLIFE Drift complete. We'll be back with more GRIDLIFE Track Battle right after this.
when we modify our cars, we do it to feel a greater connection, a more responsive feel between ourselves and the road.
Thousands of data points affect milliseconds on the track. You've got the data, but do you know how to use it? FireLabs is the driver development platform that makes data simple and actionable. And with FireLink, your sessions upload automatically and coaching insights show up instantly. Visualize clearly, share easily, improve every time you drive. Powered by machine learning and real driver data, FireLabs helps you train with purpose and race with confidence.
Racetreads.com. Tires for every adventure.
WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, one of the most famous racetracks in North America, maybe one of the most famous racetracks on the planet, but 2.24 miles around here, 11 corners. Kyle Heyer joined by Jacob Gettens. And Jacob, we talked all weekend long about how this is a racetrack that packs a lot of punch, huge elevation change, and it's a place everyone looks forward to driving.
Yeah, it's iconic, and it allows you to show off the best in your driving, but it also will punish you if you try to get a little bit greedy. Big curbs, big runoffs, which means that you can go in with a little bit more speed, but you don't want to be running through them.
Well, of course, we are here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. It is the third GRIDLIFE track battle session of the weekend, about to hit the racetrack here in just a moment's time. And looking down at the racetrack in the end of pit lane, cars gridding up and ready to go rolling here in just a moment. Again, have a look, see here. Again, GRIDLIFE is here for GRIDLIFE Laguna for the third year in a row. 2023, the first time that we were here. We're in GRIDLIFE track battle time attack. We are now on heat 3. There's our progress for the weekend. This will be the halfway point in our qualifying for the podium sprint, where the top 5 drivers will move on to the podium sprint on Sunday afternoon. And whoever wins the podium sprint wins the weekend. Falcon Club SC on track now. Jacob, this is our slowest class, but certainly not the least competitive.
Yeah, I would say it's one of the most exciting ones, though, because the driving style that you have to commit to coming through a track like this, it's not a lot of brakes. It's definitely a lot of momentum coming through each corner, seeing who can hold the most nerve. And I mean, they still get pretty wild out there. So just because it's not fast doesn't mean it's not exciting.
And as the cars roll around here for their opening lap here, Falcon Club SC, our key details here. This is our entry-level bolt-on streetcar class, 25-to-1 power to weight here. Look at that track record set earlier today by Sam Dooling at a 149.856. That is actively going to fall throughout the rest of the weekend, I'm sure of it. Typical power, about 85 to 105 horsepower, but you're not going to be slowing down much because you've got sticky Falcon RT 660 plus tires holding you to the road. You're going to see cars like Honda Fits, Kia Rios, Honda Civics of the EF generation, maybe a Toyota Corolla here now and then, but mostly Honda Fits. It's a really, really fun class where momentum is the key to win.
Yeah, I mean, as a Mazda protege enthusiast, not many of us left in the world. Maybe this will be my foray into driving is get another 1.6 protege and see what I can do with it.
There's Matthew Reinhardt in the 343. He's helping us here with tech this weekend. Another driver that drove his car a long ways across the country to be here, chasing Courtney Ward up the hill in her teal Honda Fit. Good to see her back out on the racetrack after a little incident in heat number 2 earlier today. Reinhardt's in one of those newer Honda Fits, though, the more recent generation cars. I think it's a GK is how they would describe that.
Okay.
And they have to carry a little ballast because stock they make about 110 wheel horsepower, a little too much for the class. So they have to add some weight because even that is too much for this category.
That's incredible that, I mean, 5 extra horsepower, but when we're talking about power to weight ratio the way that they are, I mean, a little nicer looking. I don't know, the facelift is pretty good. More more on the Honda Odyssey type of styling.
It looks like if you got a Honda Odyssey stuck in a hydraulic press, it just shortened it up a little bit, and it's scaled down a touch. The gravity, all the weight of the air is pressing down and just shrinking it into a singularity.
Yeah, especially at the immense speeds they're getting down the front straight. Already using a bit of a draft coming through our front. So, I mean, listen, it could be possible, especially when you've got tight power to weight ratio like they've got here.
Absolutely. You mentioned slipstream and draft earlier in the day. I think for this class, it's going to matter the most of any category. These cars have a big drag problem. They're big as far as frontal area is concerned, even though they're relatively lightweight. So they have trouble pushing through the air when you get to 80 to 90 miles an hour. So draft will absolutely be a factor there. Reinhardt tucking up behind the teal Honda Fit of Courtney Ward. There's TJ Keon again in that Ford Crown Victoria. He's been fun to watch sling this effectively a law enforcement vehicle around. You see the Fun Haver sticker on the back. You best believe it.
Yeah, 100%. And he's all the way up in Street GT, but not the quickest vehicle.
No.
So this is purely about having some fun and getting out there and just getting lap time in.
Again, that big old V8 makes a whole bunch of torque, not a lot of anything else.
It's got to be comfortable, though. Of all the vehicles out on track right now, I would argue is the most comfortable one. So definitely having a good time out there, as we can see a little bit of drafting going on, and a bit more of a wild vehicle out there in the Legends car. So Scott Birdsdale, yeah, I mean, once again, in a class way above, but because all of our groups are run based on lap time, not based on class, that's why we're seeing a vehicle in our Super Unlimited all the way down here in Group D.
Well, TJ Keon in that Ford Crown Victoria headed down the hill here in just a moment. You'll see him pop out through right behind some of those Honda Fits, and these are going to be exactly polar opposite vehicles. One is going to motor it on a straight line, the other much better through the corner. And TJ headed down the hill now, chasing Matthew Reinhardt in that 343 Honda Fit.
Yeah, I mean, I do think there's going to be a bit of a punch through the air with this Legends car that could basically fit inside of his shadow coming through that turn. So Legends car going for a pass.
Yeah, and there goes Birdsdall on by TJ Keon, but we caught up with TJ a little earlier. Jonathan Grace will tell us all about this Ford Crown Vic.
TJ Keon, one of the crazier street GT cars, and maybe because it doesn't particularly look all that crazy, but it is under the hood. You're running a Crown Vic and you're running it up against some pretty insane cars, Lamborghinis, Porsches, what have you, and this thing's still competitive. Tell me about it.
I'm significantly outclassed. You guys put me in street GT simply only because I have a V8. This is like way more like Sunday Cup times. So I have fun with the fits, and we're all down and we like party hard on track, but it's a Crown Vic. You don't need to spend a lot of money. Just do it and then come out here and have fun, because why wait? So to be honest with you, real quick question or real quick topic, I always wanted to do this, and then COVID came and everything sucked. So I was like, you know what? Instead of like waiting and being scared and like, just go do it. So get a Crown Vic, spend like 5 G's, get some decent tires, and go have fun. And GRIDLIFE will let you play with them. They're like so nice. It's like should not be here. This is out of like fish out of water. But you guys always let me come back, and I think we got a trophy last year. So thank you for doing all this stuff.
Thanks for being here. It's one of the beautiful things about GRIDLIFE is we get to have this, mixing it up with some pretty insane cars. Are you enjoying it? Are you having fun?
I'm having super fun, but I have to say that we're here for this group right here, the Amuse for Autism Foundation out of Huntington Beach, California. So you know what? Just be nice to everybody, and let's all go play on track.
It's a great California cause at a great California track. Thanks so much, TJ. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks, Jonathan. And TJ Keon, always a character. You see him right there with a 208.015 chasing the fits right now. And chasing the fits, indeed. Mike Jansen on the timing and scoring there. 152.219, eking closer to Sam Dooling's time and the 149s earlier this morning. Look at that thing, get a little slip angle down the hill there through turn 9.
Yeah, he's having some fun. He's definitely finding the limits of that car, that's for sure. It's amazing that more people weren't able to outrun the police, considering what this thing's doing right now. But
yeah, that's a great point, actually.
But having a blast. And TJ is somebody that I get to hang out with a few times a year on the FD staff team on the media side of things. So as soon as he popped on camera, I went, I know exactly who that is.
Full course yellow.
Okay.
For something somewhere.
Not seeing any dust clouds popping up nearby, so that's always good. Hopefully it's nothing too major.
Yeah, see safety trucks rolling up at 5, but I don't see anyone between 5 and 6. So cars are going to head back around, collect behind the time attack safety car. Again, we're about 7 minutes into this Group D session, so it's conceivable that we could get another lap or two before we move on to Group C. Josh Powers, by the way, on track finally. We were talking about him earlier because wife Jessica was out there in her gray Chevrolet C5. Josh did make it out on track and has laid his first timed laps of the day down. There's a 3:36 of Raymond Leos in the BMW. Currently on top of the Street GT group for the moment as we work our way back up through the different groups in this track battle session.
Yeah, Josh running in track mod, so this is his first lap out. I have a feeling he'll move around a little bit when it comes to the run groups a little bit later on, but happy to see him able to make his way out, which is phenomenal. Weren't sure exactly what was going on, but may have been putting in a little bit more time to help out Jessica and make sure she had a good time. So what a great gentleman.
Absolutely. And there's Mike Jansen leading in Club SC in this session, but slower than Dueling this morning. Now here's what I would propose.
Okay.
Is that Dueling was quicker to get up to speed this morning because he has past experience here at this racetrack. But now that they've got laps under their belt, think about how these cars are running on the same track in the same conditions right now. Jansen is now a little bit quicker, so maybe Jansen's got the upper hand here on Dueling now that he's had some laps under his belt.
Yeah, I think so, especially now. We're seeing this as kind of the hottest temps they're getting into today. The track definitely worked in pretty well, but temps are up there, and he's got the laps now to put it down. So, make sure that you've got your notification set for tomorrow morning, because I really do think it's going to be interesting and see how things play out. And then obviously, once we get that all locked in, then we kind of check out our sprint and see how the rest of this weekend ends up playing out.
Yeah, Mike Jansen, you see him leading by 9/10 of a second over Sam Dueling. He actually ran in Street GT at Lime Rock Park, but he is leading the Club SC standings, and Jonathan Grace caught up with him a few minutes ago.
Session. Yep. How's the car feeling? How's the track feeling?
Car feels good. I was playing around with some tires. Went to the 16s instead of the 15s to see how they felt. It was a little more slidey in the second session, but car feels good overall.
What'd you learn from the first session into the second session aside from the tire changes?
Just playing with gearing, really. Is the 16s are shorter than the 15s are, so playing with gearing changes, because this really, my transmission is not made for racing, basically.
Well, I suppose that's the beauty of Club SC, right? Is that you can show up with something like that and still wring a pretty great time out of it.
Yep. It's a great car. I just wish the gearing was a little better in it. They made a comment on the live stream at Autobahn that they could hear how bad the gearing was for the car, or for that track anyway.
Is it any better here? I know you said you're still struggling with it a little bit.
It is a little better, especially on the 16s. I'm just playing with it. I got to learn the track too. I've never been here before, so.
Wait, so 150.8 right off the bat's not bad. Is there any more in it?
I'm chasing Sam. He's at a 49 and change, so there's definitely time out there. I just gotta, get comfortable with the track and a little more Cindy.
Well, good news. Still a couple more sessions to go. So good luck, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I always get nervous when a driver says they were talking about me on the live stream, and what did I say?
Yeah.
No, he's exactly right. The gearing, trying to figure out when you're in between gears at a car that will really make power the higher you rev it. And at a track like this, when you're going up a lot of hills, you got to pick which gear you're going to be in each corner to really maximize your power range.
Yeah, and it's funny, as soon as he talked about gearing, I went, well, how's he changing the gearing? And then I went, oh, right, tire size.
Yeah,
sidewall.
Yep.
So interesting to hear, potentially 16, maybe didn't work out as well as what he wanted to, better gearing, but losing that in the corners with that increase in sidewall, I assume.
Yeah, and again, also how sensitive it has to be when you change the size of the wheel and tire that you're on. When you're already struggling for torque, any change is going to put you at a disadvantage. There's a look at Bob Miller in the Kia Rio, currently third as it stands, and so far this weekend, just keeping an eye on how things have sorted. The overall results so far I think Bob Miller still is scored in third. 156.684, and he hasn't gone quicker than that in this session, but he's still chasing Jansen at that 150.8 that he talked about earlier. The Kia Rio, maybe not the ideal car for this category. We've really seen that Civic and the Honda Fit be the dominant cars this season, but it's always interesting to see something out of the ordinary, and though it fits right into this class, you don't see a lot of Kias. Well, I think we should see more.
Yeah, and you don't know if it's going to work until you give it a shot, right? Because maybe on paper, sometimes things are not quite there, and then you get it out on track and realize it's got some weird or strange advantage, whether it's something like drag at a higher speed track, or you never know, maybe just reliability. They're just built super well. So you know what, give it a shot, see what it looks like. And so far, I mean, just, as we say, just something different.
Yeah,
let's try something different.
And he's got One Lap of America stickers onto the side of that car. If you're not familiar with that, it's basically a tour of the Midwest, where it's about a week-long competition where you're basically running with a team and you drive the car that you're competing with across the country, and you stop at various racetracks. There's all sorts of different challenges at each facility. It's a really cool event, and a lot of the GRIDLIFE community participates in that in some way or another. But you see the big stickers on the side of that next to our number cards. So cool to see drivers, taking their machines. This is probably one of the better cars for a cross-country trip, given some of the higher classes there. So there's a lot of concessions to comfort when you're competing and driving your own race car across the country.
Yeah, and depending on how they weighed out those different competitions, I mean, you may not need to be the fastest. You could be the most accurate, especially you get into some of the technical challenge that they've got. And then there's always something to be said about having a nice, comfortable drive and a good night's sleep, and how well your performance can improve from that. So having a car that's a little easier to drive, maybe has AC still, or at least the windows roll down or roll up, that alone could be the difference maker in your psyche, and could potentially lead to just a better weekend.
Yeah, Courtney Ward out there in the teal Honda Fit. We saw her have a little bit of contact at the exit of turn 6 earlier. And, well, she's going to continue her way around here towards turn 11. We'll see if she stays on the course and come back around. We just got the green flag to continue. And here she is, heading up onto the front straight.
Yeah, able to kind of time that down pretty well, and getting a bit of an advantage there coming down the front straight. So looks like the bumper and everything else is still is back on there. I think there might have been a lip on there earlier on. I'm not sure.
Well, we heard that there was some disposing of components, we'll call it. Jonathan Grace caught up with Courtney Ward after that little oopsie in session number 2 earlier today.
Courtney Ward in the 393 in the Club SC class, recovering from a little bit of a brush in turn 6. First of all, tell me what happened, and second of all, what'd you learn, and how's the track feeling?
Yeah, so I went in a little hot, turned in a little bit too early. My brain told me to do things I shouldn't have done, little lift off oversteer, and that sent me to give a little smooch to the tire wall. So yeah, that's a little mistake I don't want to make again.
Well, the good news is it looks like it was just cosmetic, no other further damage?
Yeah, no, car felt great. I feel good. I got a plan going into this next session. Track's probably going to be a little hot, so probably not going to do much there, but I'm going to work on just like dialing in the nut behind the wheel. Yeah.
For folks that don't know at home, as the track gets hotter, what does it change for you inside the cockpit?
Yeah, so the tires definitely fall off a little bit sooner. Track's a little bit more slick because of that, so that's where you lose a little bit of traction, where a little bit of grip where you want it.
Well, best of luck as you look to close out the day here on Friday.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. I had to giggle a little bit at the concept of a Honda Fit driver's seat being called a cockpit, but I love it.
Hey, man, a race car is a race car as long as it's on a racetrack, right?
I love it. No, I love it. Courtney Ward, again, just that front lip we heard that got tossed in the trash. So the rest of the car otherwise looks fine. So good to have her back on the racetrack there. You see her at a 206.668, just working back up. And, she mentioned turning in early. And we talked about turn 6 in our track preview, that big, nasty yellow curb I talked about. If you turn in even the slightest bit too early and you hammer that thing, boy, you're going for a ride. And I'm sure that probably played no small part in that moment earlier today.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing now I would say is let's get her back on the scales and see how much that lip was weighing, because if we start to see those lap times come down, I can have some questions about what that lip was made out of.
Yeah, it depends on how much it weighs. I mean, there's certainly something to be, to say about parts that are cosmetic on a car. In a car like this, is the weight worth the aero benefit? And again, you can do some front lips on Club SC. Otherwise, it's just stock aero, so you can't put anything complicated on it. Just you can put a front lip on, and you can put side skirts on, but that's basically it. So, stock aero, it leaves you with not a lot of options, and you have to get pretty efficient. There's Scott Birdsall again in the Super Unlimited Legends car. This thing's so crazy and wild, but I'm glad he's out there giving it a run in the Chuckles Garage car.
Yeah, it's once again, it's incredible to see, and just somebody trying to look at, okay, what other vehicles are out there. These things are shockingly cheap too. You can buy them, running, ready to go, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 depending on it. So not many, single-seater race cars you can get into for less than $5,000, and they sound great. I mean, they're really small displacement. They rev to the moon. I mean, some of them don't even have starters on them, so you got to push start them. It's cool. It's just really, really cool to see.
Actually, if you're familiar with iRacing and you're an iRacer, this is actually one of the rookie cars that you can start with, and they are set up for oval racing most of the time, but they do road race these on occasion, and you can set them up completely symmetrically. And it's not common that you see them like that, but I imagine that's what Scott Birdsall has done here with the lefts and rights at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Best time so far, a 150.38. We'll see if he picks up this time across the stripe. He will, 150.1. And for him so far, let's see what his best time of the day is, a 148.3, so not quite back there. Look at Jansen, a 151.072, and that pulls him within 0.2 of Sam Dooling.
So we're starting to see, even in this later session, that track knowledge being built up is superseding some of the temps that we're getting into and everything else that's going on with the track. So yeah, there's a lot to be said about just gaining that knowledge and gaining that confidence and being able to kind of send it into every corner.
So Birdsall picks up the checkers. You see in track mod a couple of cars, Ari Hanna out there and Josh Powers laying down some lap times. Bob Miller comes across, picks up to a 201.0. Then of course Owens in the 107 and Ben Sirik in the number 83 370Z. No lap time recorded for him. I am curious if that might have been the car to bring out the yellow. We didn't. Oh no, was it? Wasn't it? Well, what car was that? I don't think we saw anything.
No,
did
I don't think so.
So maybe that answers that question. Speculating, at least.
Yeah, that would make sense given the timing and everything else, and starting to see the fastest lap from that session. Obviously, Powers able to put that down, potentially bumping up into a different run group for tomorrow.
Yeah, you see the green waving there because I think we're releasing the next group out of the pit lane here. So that will be Group C will be the next on track as Scott Birdsall comes back around.
Getting a little squirrely into that compression zone. Not a ton of suspension travel on these, so pretty quick to be able to bottom it out. One of the vehicles to set the suspension up on this, you just kind of lift it up a little bit. You could probably just hand wrench the adjuster on it and be good to go.
And Birdsall will pit on in. If you see the purple wipe on the screen, that is your class leader of one of the various classes. So you can see how many wipes we got in there, 8. Because if there's 7 or 8 wipes, that's basically all the classes we have represented in Group D. Because we've had in this group Street, Club SC, Club TR, Street Mod, Street GT, and Track Mod, and Super Unlimited all represented. So the only class not present would be Unlimited.
Right.
So Group D has a pretty wide swath of cars from 85 horsepower Honda Fits to all sorts of crazy stuff. So moving up to Group C here, you see the cars on the grid. I think the car at the very pointy end of that is Will Dries in the number 466 Hyundai Elantra N. That's one of the drivers we were going to talk about later this weekend, and we talked about his season a little earlier. You see him roll off pit lane now. This is not the car that they started the season with. Up until Road America, they had a different Elantra N chassis. It was actually a 6-speed gearbox manual transmission car. This is one of the DCTs, and they were talking about how they were struggling a little bit with getting the tuning of this car to sort of operate how they wanted to under big power. Of course, they've got a couple of tunes they've been trying on it. It was not handling or performing to their expectations at Autobahn Country Club. The other thing to consider is that Hyundai in the Elantra N was only sold with a sunroof in the DCT car, and you couldn't get the DCT without the sunroof, so that adds a little bit of weight to the roof of the car.
That's a bit of a strange packaging decision.
Yeah, so if you wanted not a sunroof, you had to get the 6-speed. That would have added a little weight to the car. So they're just trying to figure out how to make this thing as solid as their first car of the year, and what they were struggling with primarily was rear downforce. Okay. So in street class, you can replace a couple of the body panels, namely the hood and trunk, with aftermarket materials as long as they're OEM design. What you can't do is bolt on whatever wing you want. You notice the tiny little rear wing on this car?
Yeah.
If the car had a different trim that had a bigger aero piece, you can run it, provided it's still under the street class MSRP limit. But the Hyundai Elantra N, this is the highest trim of this car. That's all they provided. So at high speed, this car is a little bit of a tail-happy problem that you can solve with power, but anytime that you're in a high-speed kink and you're lifting off throttle, you're putting in brake, it shifts all the weight forward, and this car was a little diabolical for Will at CMP, where he had an incident in the kink, and at Road America, where they crashed the first chassis, and that's why they're on this car now.
Interesting. So now, let's just say, hypothetically, Hyundai decides that they do want to come out with a more sporty trim package next year. That would still be able to adapt to this. They'd be able to take that bigger wing or split or whatever it is and adapt it to this vehicle.
Yeah, provided that it's under the MSRP limit, you can put on other aero components from the car, but again, they have to be OEM sourced, and they can't be aftermarket in any way. Of course, as long as it's under the MSRP limit, you're good to go. You can mix and match from various trims of the same car. The same is true in Street GT as well.
Okay, interesting. What about things like TRD or things along those lines? Does that still fall into that category?
Yes.
Okay.
So again, as long as it's the same model and the trim is under the MSRP limit, feel free to have fun. If it's racing stuff, like if it came on, like let's say it's a GR86 and it's a GR86 Cup wing, no, technically, it has to be the road-going car. But if it's a TRD edition, then you're good to go.
Interesting. I feel like there's maybe some room for interpretation with that, and potentially some.
That's what Time Attack is all about.
I know. Hey, that's racing. That's what racing is all about. So that's super interesting. I didn't realize it went quite that deep on it. So yeah, I'd be curious to see what is able to come out of it. There's a few of those companies out there that kind of sit on the line of being an OEM or an OEM upsell. So my brain goes towards like an RTR Mustang or something along those lines, or even back in the day with the Cork Sport Mazdas.
Oh yeah.
You know, how would those play into it? So I'm just maybe I'm trying to figure out how I slide into here. What's the best advantage we can get out of it?
There's the G-Technique 240Z. This is Sean Bassett in an unlimited class Datsun. And again, this is a car that we've seen a lot here in the GridLife Track Battle Championship. And of course, he's also run up the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb, one of, I think, almost a dozen cars that have done that here this weekend, including, I caught up with Rob Dahm earlier that we'll talk about a little bit later this weekend, running his 3-rotor RX-7 here this weekend. There's Sean climbing up the hill. Super cool car. And this is a car that we've seen get air at Lime Rock Park and come up over the crest, just trying to get the front end to stick to the road. So really cool as he heads down the hill there. I love unlimited cars that look like unlimited cars, and with all the huge rear wing and big diffuser on this, it looks the part.
Yeah, I'm curious why he's not running up maybe closer to B or into A. Is this just typical with kind of where this car runs, or is it just an off weekend?
This is sort of typical for this car. Again, it's got enough power to boogie on the straights, but I think just the whole package, they're still working on kind of making it all stick together. And they've had a lot of issues, even this year at Pikes Peak. They had some transmission and gearbox related problems, so they're just working on it, getting it sorted. But his best time of the weekend is a 142.9. I think the car is capable of more than that. He just went quicker, 142.1. Okay. So on his first lap of this session, picked up some time.
Yeah. I mean, almost a drop of a full second at this point later in the day. So yeah, getting things figured out, obviously, and that confidence we spoke about a little bit earlier. So see, I mean, it just, to me, that looks like the total package vehicle, and just looking at the stats, it should be a little quicker than it is.
Okay, I've had time to correct myself. The C2 Corvette,
there we go,
on track out there, working its way around in, I think that was a track mod car. Damon Hattori in the 427. And that thing, it looks like it's got a Lego brick on the hood. I love those intakes there. And is it ITBs on that thing? Is that what we're looking at?
Might be, just definitely big air filter on it. So they might have some ITBs underneath of it with maybe some velocity stacks or something along those lines. But at least keeping the air nice and clean, big old filter up front.
I'm always curious, and this is intel I picked up from my driver buddies. They always talk about how these older cars, no matter what you do to them, they still sort of drive old, even if you completely replace all the suspension. There's just chassis flex and things of the sort. But once you get the track mod and you start stiffening up the chassis, adding different braces, you might be able to get it to make a corner. But again, engineering in automotive technology has come such a long way since 1965 or whatever this your car is.
I think a lot of it is where they're putting the force in the vehicle. We think a lot more about it in the modern chassis, about, okay, depending on the suspension angle or the pickup or just the suspension design in general. Seeing a bit of a dust cloud here on our side, but no flags, it seems. I think it's just where they put the force into the chassis. I don't know how many drivers here are getting into stitch welding all the seams on these vehicles, but it's just going to be different. You've also got a full frame underneath that is basically a ladder. You don't have a lot of triangulation that's naturally built into that chassis, so having to put a lot of underside bracing, things like that will help, but ultimately, given the platform, you're only going to get so much out of it.
Club TR car, the 140, that's Miguel Arendulas in one of those Honda S2000s. Here's Mark Kilgore. This is the driver I wanted to talk about, this BMW M4. Again, coming a long way, shipped his car over with turn-in concepts as he heads down the hill. One of the drivers involved in the Street GT top 5 fight, so to speak. But he's had an interesting year, had a little incident at Lime Rock Park. But Jonathan Grace caught up with Mark Kilgore to talk about his first time here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca.
Mark Kilgore, fastest in Street GT in that last session. How'd the lap feel? You look like you put it all together. You were fastest on track, but what was it like behind the wheel?
Yeah, pretty good. The first session we sort of had some issues, had some brake issues. This car was in the wall at Lime Rock, so we've been putting it back together, some things to sort out. But that session was much better. We were chasing a coolant leak, so I was only able to get 3 laps before I started getting a warning light coming on the dash. But was able to get it done in those first couple laps, so super happy about that. There's more time in it. We'll see if we can put it together.
Temperature conditions-wise, ambient here at Laguna Seca looks pretty ideal. Is it the same on track?
Yeah, it is. The tires are holding up really well. I'm able to get multiple laps out there and not really feeling them get very greasy. So it's really good conditions, good air temperature, but then there's a little bit of heat in the track to keep the tires warm. So yeah, it's really good, and I think it's going to stay that way throughout the rest of the day.
What's possible for the rest of the weekend?
I'm shooting for at least a 35, need about 3 more seconds, 4 more seconds. 35s, 34s, I'll be happy with that, and I think that's going to put me on the podium.
Mark Kilgore chipping away in the 909.
Thanks, Jonathan. There he is entering turn 6 now. Big compression there in these BMW M cars. A little heavier in the weight side of things, Jacob, but they're super high performance. The M3, the M4, all of the above. You see him using the curbing there on entry and getting it all wound down for the plunge down the hill.
Yeah, you can definitely get aggressive with these. I mean, the ride height's really good on it. The tuning of the suspension straight from factory is incredible. So as a base vehicle, I really don't think you can go wrong with BMW at any point. A little bit of a step out there coming through the corner, so fighting for every little bit of track and a little bit of grip. This is definitely a flyer here for Mark Kilgore, and although got a little hairy there coming out of the corner, I'd say still altogether very, very tidy. We'll see. Ooh!
Whoa! Look at all the racetrack he used there. That was cool.
Caught a little understeer coming out of that apex, and then that led to a bit of oversteer. So little back and forth of the front and back.
Green's fair game, by the way, and Mark Kilgore 136.081 for Kilgore that time around, and that was a significant amount faster than his earlier time, a 138.824. So he's went almost 3 seconds faster, two and a half seconds faster than his time earlier today. That's a huge pickup for Mark.
Yeah, with that exit though, I don't know if he quite touched that white line. It was very close, and if I heard correctly, he wants to shave another 2 seconds off that lap time by the end of this weekend. That'll be very interesting.
Well, this is actually going to put him a very close second to the Street GT leader, which is Charles Canal in another BMW M4 who ran a 136.006, who's in Group B. So Kilgore is right there knocking on the top step of Street GT as it stands, and I think it's going to be a brawl of the M4s. The next Street GT car that he just leaped ahead was Uni Zai in that Porsche 708 Cayman, the blue and yellow car we saw earlier, who's also in Group B. So Kilgore also launched ahead of Joe Drain, who we were just watching in the 587 BMW 2 Series. So that was a great lap that launched him from about 5th or 6th in Street GT all the way up to 2nd.
Yeah, that's huge. He still seems like he's, I don't know, maybe fighting for that same time, but it looks like trying to practice a little bit more of these apexes and trying to figure out that speed to be able to carry without kind of having that snap oversteer again. So we'll see what the exit looks like coming around our last corner. He's going right into the pits.
Yeah, pitting in now, okay. And I think, he said earlier he could get a bunch of laps out of it, but he'll look at that timer and say, that's pretty good for this session, and he'll know that the leader was at a 36 flat, so that's right up in that conversation. You see now to second in this session, he's 3 seconds clear of Joe Drain.
Wow.
So that was a huge pickup for him, and he'll be proud of that lap.
Yeah, that's massive, and as he mentioned earlier, wants still another 2 seconds pulled out of that time. So the feeling some cooler track temps might be able to make that happen, as we can tell those tires get a little warm coming into 11 and using every single bit of track that we allowed them this weekend, and maybe a bit more. I think they'll be checking that replay.
Christopher Carlton, 140.214 was his previous best time, and we'll come around across the stripe there in this white Chevrolet Camaro. Carlton across the stripe, that time no pickup, so he'll stay P3 on Street GT in this session. And he's got a little work to do, I think, if he wants to get into the podium sprint, because he needs a 39.2 to qualify himself in. Remember, top 5 of each class will qualify for that come Sunday afternoon. So he'll pull out of the way, let Alexis Fregoso on by in the Falcon Club TR class. Will Dries, by the way, in the blue on the bottom of the screen there, 138.533 is a 100th of a second pickup from his best time earlier today. So Dries did pick up a little bit of time, but just chipping away at it a little bit at a time.
Yeah, a little bit, and we talked about how the conditions are maybe not the best spot for that right now, so we'll see if they're able to take that same confidence coming through and how they're able to peck away at it for the rest of it. So another BMW on a flyer, sitting a little bit lower on this one. But
this is Drain in that car that Kilgore just beat by 3 seconds. We'll see if Drain can respond. And we saw him really hustling down the hill and through Rainy Curve, putting this car on the limit. Great wheel and tire package to go with this dark purple metallic paint too.
Yeah, a lot tighter coming through 11. Now the exit there, it looks like he did cross over a little bit coming through. Now, hopefully that does not hit track limits.
Yeah, so they're giving him the outer white line. Anytime that there's green and there's another white line, they're giving him 4 tires, or they have to keep a tire within that. So even if you're touching the gravel, you're okay out there. It's anywhere that, like turn 5, the exit, for example, has a white line curbing and then just pavement, that you can't go beyond that. But if there's an outer white line, if there's 2, you're going to take the further of the 2. So turn 11, they're giving them the green, so they can run on that.
Oh wow, okay, yeah, that's a lot of room to use.
All of it.
Use the real estate. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So I think if you're dipping a tire in at that point, you've got much bigger issues than track limits.
Yeah, and the goal for track limits is really just to keep people on reasonable racing surface. And at turn 11, you know, it's sort of the general line that you're running will take you out into that green area, and there's a natural barrier beyond it. I think the idea with turn 5 is it's just a lot of extra pavement out there, like you see here coming up the hill. So there's no other white line other than the one next to the curb. They just don't want you running way out in the ether there, because then you're way off track. So turn 11, the limits are a little tighter. So turn 6 here, you can use all the green there. But again, if you touch a tire into that gravel, you can go for a pretty high-speed spin.
Yeah, that's a solid point. And anywhere we're seeing the green in there, it's either a setup for a really big corner, or you're into that corner. So trying to allow for that runoff. So good exit through or corkscrew, but definitely not on the heater.
Yeah, it's quiet too. I don't think he's done a lot to the exhaust on this car. And again, you can run pretty open exhausts in Street GT. Of course, you can't just rip out everything and go straight pipe. You need to retain catalytic converters and things like that. But again, you can do a catback, and that car sounds very stock.
Yeah, agree. Very much agreed on that. Which, I mean, I'd like a little more rasp in it. BMW rasp is always a nice sound.
You know, there's something to be said about Street GT, though, being a relatively low prep class, and though the MSRP limit, inflation adjusted, is about 135 grand. So that's basically your spending budget to get the car. But as far as what you have to do to it, there's not really a lot you can do, and that's intentional so that it doesn't turn into a spending war. If you want to talk about street mod or even street class, you know, when you have all these modifications open to you, track mod or even unlimited, you could just throw money at it forever to make it faster. So the idea with street and street GT, with having you know, limitations on the aero that you can put on, it keeps you from having to wind tunnel test your car and get the aero balance right, and you have to run really stiff springs to get the aero to work, and you have to test all those things, and then you're throwing 700, 800, 900 horsepower at it. That gets really expensive. So street and street GT with that MSRP limit, it's supposed to keep everyone sort of in the same planet as far as modifications are concerned.
Yeah, it's more of a buy once, cry once kind of scenario, as opposed to some of the other classes where you can modify like crazy and you're just buying all the time to get into a very competitive area. So yeah, I think any of these M Series BMWs, anything that's coming with a performance package from factory, as long as it's below that, you're in a good spot.
So Joe Drain's going to move out of the way. Mark Kilgore back on track, so came in to cool things off, and he's back on course now on a hot flying lap. Plunging down that hill. Looks like Drain's cooling down now, so we'll see if Kilgore can pick up at the tail end of Group C. They're actually letting these cars have quite a bit of time on the road, which is going to help out. So no pickup for Drain.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Kilgore's coming in, what kind of time he's going to set. Does Drain immediately come into the pits on this one? You can see the hand signal for it, so might be back out and ripping. We almost had a head-to-head there for a moment.
Yeah, and here's a look at one of the Mustangs on track. I think that this is the 721 of Anthony Gardanapo in the track mod Ford Mustang. Mark Kilgore comes across the stripe. I didn't see a pickup there on the timing and scoring, so he'll stay at the 36.081. Let's start by the Ford Mustang here for a second. This is a car and a platform that we've really seen underutilized, I think, at the higher levels of GRIDLIFE Track Battle. This S550 generation gained independent rear suspension, but I don't know that they're necessarily the best weapon to start with in most of the classes here in GRIDLIFE, and I think a lot of that is just you're dealing with a lot of weight, and again, maybe some understeer to tune out. You can add some aero, and we've seen people build these things into our unlimited class and really run them at a very high level, but I think they seem to require quite a bit to get them to be very good weapons for most of our categories.
Yeah, I think it falls into a very similar situation that we see with the Camaro, where it's just not an overall phenomenal car, but when we start to look at how selective and some of the rule sets we've got here, it doesn't neatly fit into anything. It's just it's a little over one and little under on the next, so you kind of have to decide how you want to play that out. And I mean, the V8s do great work. What Ford's doing on that end of things has been phenomenal, and yeah, it'd be maybe one day they'll come out with a real slim down one.
Yeah, and there was a little bit of news lately from the Ford Racing side of things. They've actually combined Ford Racing and the Ford's street car performance car division under one roof for development, so that's actually going to be a big deal, I think, for the Mustang going off into future generations. But Mark Kilgore was out there on a flyer, but he has bailed out as the checkered flag has fallen here on Group C, so that leaves us with 2 groups left to go here for the GRIDLIFE Track Battle Championship on our first day of action. Still so much to come your way. A couple more heats tomorrow, and then of course the Track Battle Podium Sprint on Sunday, where the top 5 from each class will qualify and compete against each other, and basically a knockout contest, 3 laps. Whoever is the fastest goes home with the trophy.
Yeah, that's going to be wild. I'm really excited for that, and that's where a little bit of pressure plays into it as well, where you can have a great weekend, but you need to have a great and perfect session to be able to be standing on the box by the time things wrap up on Sunday.
Yeah, I love seeing this though with Mark Kilgore in the pit box here, getting tire pressures, great data to add to their collection here to figure out what they need to do for tomorrow's sessions as well. And Mark Kilgore also co-hosts the Perfect Lap podcast with Mark Yeager. They talk a lot about time attack and where it fits in, and they cover really all the events across the country, whether it be here at GRIDLIFE or Global Time Attack or World Time Attack. Had Mark Kilgore actually join us for commentary at Lime Rock Park for GRIDLIFE GT, a great guy. So glad to see him up at the pointy end, and so far the fastest car through the first 2 heats of the day, and still impressed with Dries in that Elantra N, just 2.5 seconds off an M4. That's crazy, the performance they pack in those things.
Yeah, it's such a testament both to Dries' driving as well as the vehicle that he's in, and maybe getting into that second chassis, you kind of know the things you didn't like about the first one, and able to make those changes, whether that's serviceability or even small things like driver position, where once you have the first one, all you think about is, hey, I could make this better. I need an opportunity to do it, and able to do that, and now that's where we see Dries sitting, just a couple of seconds off our current leader.
Cars on track now for Group B, and the notable cars in this one that we'll try to keep an eye on to our best ability. We've got, let's see here, Josh Hulka in the 777. That is one of our Track Battle Time Attack street class cars. He should be towards the pointy end of that class. As my understanding, he is the only driver from that class in this heat, so he is the first driver there. Uni Zai in the Street GT Porsche Cayman. She's going to try to get back up on top of Mark Kilgore with this session, given that he just knocked her down to 3rd place in class. Joshua Briggs should be out here as well in the unlimited class MX-5 Miata. Azmat Mohammed in the Corvette Z06, and Danny Aitken in that crazy Chevy SS stock car hill climb thing.
Yeah, it's I mean, Group B is another real fascinating one as we start to see a lot of these different divisions collide. So you've got people just entering in on the bottom end of their class, and then a couple of drivers who are really fighting for the final few spots in whatever class they're in. So at first, when we talked about the layout of this with the different run groups, I'm like, I don't know, how's that going to work out? And I think for the pacing and everything else, it allows for a very even track flow, which is great. Slightly confusing from time to time because you're looking at a lot of different groups, but ultimately, I think for the actual track flow and drivability, it makes the most sense.
Yeah, there was a past version of this championship where we did all the qualifying and all the heats by class, and we would combine a couple classes on track, but it would all be Street GT and Street Mod together. But the differences between the pointy end and the bottom end of any given class is actually a pretty sizable differential. So you'll see we had unlimited or super unlimited cars in Group D, so it just doesn't really make sense all the time. So there's a look at the 913 car, and this is one of the GR Supers, Isaac Torres behind the wheel of the Street Mod Supra. And Street Mod is a stacked fifth class this weekend. He's down in about 11th or 12th spot and has a long ways to go in order to qualify for the podium sprint. Would you believe it, looking at that car could be 11th or 12th in class?
I mean, it's definitely up there when it comes to looks, that's for sure. Wing setup, everything else. I mean, beautiful looking car, obviously aiming for that performance and has everything underneath of it to be able to do it. So now it's just a bit of a driver mod, a bit more time on this track to be able to start catching up. I mean, you look at, Tim Gilliam, 133.962 in a Supra as well. So there's a pretty big spread there when it comes to those times. The 2.5, 2 seconds just in this group alone.
Danny Aitken again, the way this car was wiggling and wobbling here. We saw him really leaving tire marks down earlier, Jacob, as he climbs up the hill, throttling up.
Yeah, that thing is spicy on track entrance and on track exit. So still seeing a pretty soft suspension setup. I'm not sure what they're actually able to do to be able to tighten that up just a little bit. I think it could do with it, to be perfectly honest.
Well, Danny Aitken has got one of the more unique cars here in this field running in the Super Unlimited class, and we had Jonathan Grace catch up with him.
Well, Danny Aitken in the Super Unlimited number 422, one of the best looking cars on the grid. I know it's been an up and down day, and you had a little bit of an issue earlier on, but getting set to go back on track. Can you tell us what happened? And it looks like everything seems to be fixed.
Yeah, so the car is just set up for Pikes Peak. We have about 12 gallons and it runs on methanol, so we're basically, we only have enough fuel to go out there and do some laps and then come in. So we had the safety car come out and had to sit behind the safety car for a couple of laps, which that's what did it. We ran out of fuel. So,
well, at least it's no mechanical issue, and you can get this great looking car back on track. Tell us a little bit about the livery. You've got a bunch of quotes from the movie out there. You've got the Cougar on the front of the car.
Yeah,
tell us how you.
Cougar in the car.
Oh man, look at that! You got the whole thing. You're riding along with it. How'd you come up with the concept?
It was just a Pikes Peak thing we did this year, and supporting the PTSD Foundation, and just fun, you know, just to keep it fun. This car has gone up Pikes Peak for 20 years. It's a Pikes Peak specialty car. I literally have the same gear set in it. I haven't touched it, so it's basically set up for Pikes. And but yeah, we did the livery, and like I said, we just wanted to keep it fun and relatable and lighthearted. You know, motor racing gets a little bit too serious sometimes.
There's a lot of differences between going up Pikes Peak and going down the corkscrew. What are some of the things that you're having to adjust in the car, either mechanically? It sounds like you haven't really changed that much, but and B, behind the wheel on the technique side.
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't really let this thing eat yet, and it's just hard to get a clean lap so far. So I'm hoping over the next couple of days I get at least one clean lap, and then I'll be able to see how she dances. I managed to, you know, find a really happy place on that last session for about a quarter of the lap, and I'm just hoping to get back to that happy place again and then build on that, you know. So
have fun out there. Thanks, Danny.
Thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, really cool. There's a look there at first and second in Super Limited. How about that 16-second differential between himself and Scott Birdsall? That's cool.
Wow, yeah, wild. I mean, he says he's still got to let it eat, so you never know. I'm not quite sure if he's able to clean up that 16 seconds, but I'm more concerned about if that Cougar in the passenger seat's flammable or not. I might have to get that through tech.
Well, climbing up the hill here and catching some of the traffic he talked about. Got a couple clean laps in there before catching the cars ahead of him. That thing's flying. He did pick up on his personal best by about 0.7 of a second as he plunges down the hill here. Keeping an eye on the street mod battle. The 884 Toyota GR Supra, that is Steven Schaefer behind the wheel of that car. That was the car that placed second in street mod last year. If we can get a look at him in a few minutes, we'll bring him up for you. You see him P5 as it stands, and it's a great demonstration of just how good this field has gotten. Coming into this heat, he was, let's see, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th in street mod. So second last year, 11th after 2 heats so far. That's just how much we've leveled things up in year 3 of GRIDLIFE Laguna.
Yeah, and really street mod is, it's one of the most competitive classes that we've got. We've got a ton of entries. I think the rule set is really, really good in it. It allows for kind of everything that you could want to put into this level of car without getting into something absolutely crazy. And just looking at some of the times times and some of the scoring coming through this, it makes sense as to why it is that competitive. So, yeah, it's arguably the series to watch right now is Street Mod. Obviously, the Unlimited, all that stuff is incredible, but when we talk about things that you could do and have a car built and ready to go before next year, to me, Street Mod's kind of the pinnacle of all that. So I think, yeah, you could be watching this now and have a very competitive Street Mod car ready to go for next season.
Well, cars headed up the hill towards turn 6 here in Group B, and keeping an eye also, I wonder if Josh Holka has gone out there in the street class Subaru. I hadn't seen his car on maybe I do see him over there at turn 6. I think he just, we're looking at 9 now, but I think Josh Holka, there he is, 136.928 on the timing and scoring, and again, his best time of the day so far, a 137, so he is definitely picked up, and that's about a second pickup that he's done, about 9/10 of a second, so that's great for Holka, and deepens the gap back to Will Dries to find.
Yeah, it's just getting more and more competitive even in these later sessions as drivers are finding a bit more grip, a bit more time, and I don't think the track temps will have come down at this point in time, but either way, just showing the confidence that these drivers have gained is definitely superseding some of the conditions that may not be there for having an absolutely perfect run. So it's been great to see even just in these later day sessions, which tend to be generally less competitive, but we've kind of thrown that out the window today.
Asmaf Muhammad in the number 50 Z06. We saw this car a little earlier. He's up at the pointy end of track mod right now. There he is. And 134.624 for him so far. And that is about half a second off of his best for the weekend. Still chasing Callan Spence's time. And again, I don't know that we've still seen him on track because he was in that Lotus Elise in Group A, but we didn't see a lot of Group A last time out. So we'll have to get a look at that Lotus in Group A because that guy is real fast, broke a record, and I haven't even seen the car yet. He's just gets out there, gets the job done, and goes to pit lane.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that's kind of what you're looking for, right? Get out there, get exactly what you need on the board, and especially if you've got that much confidence in both the vehicle and yourself. So it's an easier thing to do to only have to run it 1 or 2 laps, get the time down, set the pace, and then hope everybody else catches up, and you just get to be a spectator at that point.
Yeah, so Asmaf heading down here into turn 11. One of my favorite stories of the GT racing world involving this next generation Corvette, the C8, is how GM originally planned their C8 generation race car for the GT Le Mans category in IMSA and the World Endurance Championship. But when that class turned into GT3, they had to adapt that car to run in GT3 spec. And the regulations, while the cars looked similar, were completely different. So they had to sort of make a hack job Corvette that was somewhere in between GTLM and GT3. It was allowed to run as a GT3 car for a couple of years until they basically rebuilt it. Now they have the Z06 GT3R as a factory race car that if you're so lucky, you could buy one and run it in GT3 competition. But just a really cool story. And speaking of cool stories, Mario Moroni, we hadn't heard from him in a little while, but he's the lone Falcon Club TR car here in Group B, the championship leader, and so far I think he is still leading comfortably in the Club TR class, at least last time I checked. So, oh yeah, he's got about 2 seconds on the next car, which is Alexis Fragoso, so he's in great shape.
Yeah, and he's definitely on a bit of a heater on this one. We saw the sparks coming out through the corkscrew and using all those rumble strips all the way through, so hunting for even a better time, which is wild when you've got a lead, when you get a gap over 2 seconds above second place right now. That's pretty wild.
Little power slide there for Steven Schaefer in the 884 Toyota GR Supra. This is the car I just mentioned that podiumed last year in Street Mod, but a long ways to go to get up even into the podium sprint, just given how competitive this class here is this year. The leader in Street Mod, Luca Barberis, at a 131.001, and the cut time for making the podium sprint is currently a 133.610. So 1.3 seconds is what Schaefer's going to need to pick up, even though he has improved this session. He needs a lot to get up into that top 5. It's an incredibly competitive class in the Midwest, and they brought some weapons here this weekend, and Schaefer's got some more drivers up against him this time around.
Yeah, it's going to be tougher, especially against some drivers that are a bit more native to this track. So it comes difficult, and having to shave over a 1/10 per corner around this is not easy. But he's hunting for it now. Not able to find all the grip, having that car step out just a bit. The power slide coming through the corners. So either just not able to really put the traction down and keep the car planted. So it maybe keep practicing and see what the track temps look like. There we go. Definitely a big, a bit of oversteer coming through 11. So see, I mean, what do you do here? Do you just keep trying to hunt for that time, put in the practice, and then just go, I know when the track conditions are a little bit better for me, I'll be able to do it? Or do you just say, hey, let's just save the car, save the tires, and just give it a shot tomorrow morning?
I really like focusing on the morning sessions, but I also like running in the heat of the day just because that will be what you have on Sunday for the podium sprint. I want to know what the car is going to do. I want to know where I stack up to my competition, and if I don't have laps in the warm sessions in the afternoon, I'm not going to know what the car is going to do, what the track conditions are going to be. So save your good tires for the morning, but also prep yourself that you're going to have to run in the heat later in the day on Sunday. Also in Street Mod, Ravi Mirage is the fastest driver out there with an LS3 swap BRZ with the BMW DCT. So he's currently on top in Street Mod in this session. Of course, a number of Street Mod cars in the next heat. There's a look at the 913, that's Isaac Torres, and a 134.429 is a half-second pickup from his heat earlier today.
Yeah, making all the improvements he needs to, and these Supras seem to be kind of coming into their own, especially a little bit later in the day, so they're not struggling as much with some of the cooling issues that they've got, and even the factory ductwork on them can be kind of beneficial to a track with that big long straightaway. You're going to have brakes that have come down a little bit more in temp coming into turn 1 into that turn 1 and 2 into the hairpin. So I know from factory a lot of people were kind of frustrated at these vehicles. They've got a lot of ducts that didn't seem to go anywhere, and I think with the Dremel tool you're able to open that up and start directing the air to the places that it should have been going to in the first place.
Well, Isaac Torres is one of 9 Toyota GR Supras here this weekend, and that category of car has just been so successful. That B58 engine we talked about earlier, the inline 6 turbocharged engine, incredibly reliable. You know, we saw Jackie Ding with PhD Racing sort of pioneer a lot of the aero parts that many of these cars are running, and you see a little scrape there. We talked about that in our track preview earlier today. But again, the Supra, it seems like the easy go fast button in the track mod or the street mod category, and if you put the right parts on it, there's sort of a formula to build them now, and if they're anything other than that formula, they're kind of interesting, but they definitely have sort of taken on this you know, build it and get that lap time sort of mantra, where you can, if you need to achieve a certain time to win a class, you just kind of do the formula.
Yeah, and that's phenomenal. It's good that we've gotten to that point. It does take drivers like Jackie Ding to put in that time, that money, and that research in the beginning, and then, you know, we see him kind of move into the next thing. He's like, all right, cool, I got this down. Let's figure out what's next. So making a business off it as well, which is phenomenal to see. And it does allow some other drivers who are maybe bumping up from a lower class just to go, I already know what I need to do, and I know what that build can set me on pace-wise, and then figure out where you need to be as a driver to kind of get back in with the pack.
Torres just ran a 133.585. That's a huge pickup for Torres. Wow. Should leap him almost up. It'll be a Group A lap time, I think, at a 133.5. So that's a really solid lap for that GR Supra. Here is Josh Halka, your championship leader in street class, just trying to effectively do the layup on everybody else here this weekend, coming all the way from Cincinnati, Ohio, from the Turn-In Concepts truck, and here he is at a 36.9. And again, he's a long ways ahead of everybody else. This is a big pickup for him, again, about 9/10 of a second quicker than the last heat.
Yeah, and I mean, holding that pace over trees has been great, and it's, whoa, okay. Man, definitely going for all of it. Look at that dive into the first part of the corkscrew.
I hope he's got rub blocks on the bottom. That was a little bit of a corkscrew cut. It was fair and legal, but it gets really, the transition is really sharp on the inside of that corner. You can drag your underframe pretty aggressively. As we got all the drive shafts and things underneath there, I don't want to do that all that much.
No, but interesting how he's able to take the corner just a little bit differently, sitting with the all-wheel drive class, and you know, able to power through a lot more, get all that traction to the ground. The downside, obviously, with all-wheel drive is when things go wrong, they go wrong very quick and very violently in those vehicles. So looks good so far, and we get that time posted up on that lap.
And there was no pickup there for Halka. Stays at the 36.9.
Okay. He's trying something a little different, but didn't quite work out for him.
Yeah, but a great lap and a great representation here from one of our common competitors, the pointy end of the class. And I think it's always fun to see drivers come from the Midwest here to join us at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca and provide context for what fast is, because, you know, we have such a strong driver base in the Midwest area, and to bring a guy like Josh Halka or even Mark Kilgore or Jackie Ding out in Track Mod's case and sort of go up against all these West Coast drivers, it gives you a new appreciation when drivers from from the West Coast are up on top in the standings. They built the car to a class that they don't get to compete with all year until we come to Laguna Seca. So they don't have context for how fast they need to go. They're taking big swings and taking guesses. But when you can beat a guy like Halka or Baroni or Jackie Ding, it really proves, or even Halka, it really proves that you've got a weapon for the category.
Well, there's also the advantage of having great weather all year round. So you're going to potentially get a few more track days than anybody else is going to get, and especially here at this facility. So, I mean, there's a lot of great racetracks in California. West Coast has got some beautiful setups, a lot of elevation in those tracks. Yeah, so he's pushing this for sure.
Yeah, just trying to extract everything he can out of it. I don't know if he had picked up the checker yet, but I think he's going to pit in this time. So that will be conclusion of heat, or I said, sorry, Group B here in Heat 3. Gosh, letters and numbers. It's like I got to assign them a hex code next to keep track of it.
Yeah, it'll be QR codes at this point.
All right, Group A. I think we're getting those cars about ready to roll. And as we've seen all weekend long, these are the fastest cars here this weekend in Group A. Cars like Chris Boersma in Track Mod, a 750 horsepower Honda Civic all the way from Ontario, Canada. Hey. Cole Powelson is here. Mike Reyes in the GR Super. Tom Tang, Jamie Santos, Cal Fortner, Gabe Zamora, Jeremiah Burton in that Camaro is up here in Group A now. Jackie Ding, Luca Barberis, Bailey Woods, Cody Vaschultz, Ryan Reduchel in the MX-5 Miata, Callan Spence, who reset the track mod record in that Lotus Elise earlier today. I'd like to find that 152 Lotus and see if they're going to go quicker still this time around.
Yeah, it should. I mean, we'll have to see. It's just definitely pulling a big gap on everybody with that car, and I'm actually kind of shocked we don't see more Lotus out here. I mean, it sits in a really interesting class with both displacement and weight, and I mean, just from factory, they're very, very good cars.
They are, and I think one of the things that sort of disallows them from a number of our or had in the past disallowed them is their flat floor. They have a flat floor underneath them, which makes them unable to run or were unable to run in things like Eibach GLTC. But again, they're really great cars. I think the other thing is some of the earlier cars, their bodywork is pretty pricey and clamshell, and you don't really want to tear that stuff up. But first out is going to be Mike Dussault in that 1967 2,000 horsepower Chevrolet Camaro, another one of our Pikes Peak cars, and he is off and away.
Yeah, already sitting on a 127.683, so a very, very solid time coming out.
The Lotus behind him, there he is, Callan Spence, green and yellow Lotus. So I'd like to follow him for a little bit and see what he's capable of. Dussault, his best time is a 127.683. I think Spence might have some more in it, though. So we'll keep an eye on him. And then Reduchel in the MX-5. Crazy that an MX-5 is the third fastest car here this weekend so far.
Yeah, behind a 2,000 horsepower Camaro, and then an Elise with basically a kitchen table for a rear wing. So, yeah, I mean, ask a lot of people. Miata is always the answer, and we're starting to see that once again here at Laguna Seca.
Yeah, the MX-5, we talk about how the history of cars plays into what we see here in the Track Battle Championship and all of our series here this weekend. Mazda MX-5s and Miatas are seen everywhere, and of course, just a couple of weeks ago, Tom Matano, the lead designer of the original MX-5 Miata, passed away at the age of 76, credited with the car's iconic design, and again, that's a loss for the enthusiast car community, of course, just inspiring a design that has been used for generations and has inspired so many different builds, and I think he'd be proud to see all these MX-5s climbing up inside the top 5 here this weekend.
Yeah, I could not agree more in a vehicle that, although seems so tiny, seems to accept so many different engine packages so well. I mean, getting an LS swap in those, they fit incredibly well. So it's really interesting what we've been able to do with that.
Whoa, top of the hill, there's a Nissan GTR. That's a bad spot to be stuck. And just looped it there, maybe cold tires for the Leaf Store. Yeah, thank you. The unlimited all-wheel drive class car, and got back rolling. That was a scary moment.
Yeah, that was definitely spooky. It's pretty blind coming over that section and getting into a really strange spot to be doing that. So I'm not sure what all let go, or car maybe a little bit of understeer and then snaps oversteer once it picks up again. So able to keep things tidy and no contact on track, and we'll be hopefully get a couple of really clean runs here in Group A. I think they're all waiting for it. We've had a couple of shortened sessions for them, so we really haven't had an opportunity to really find out exactly what these vehicles are able to do and the times they're able to put down.
Yeah, so again, here's a look at it top of the hill, right behind Cody Voschholz. Watch top left there. Just got in there really fast and just looped it. I wonder if he maybe caught that big yellow anti-cut curb there at the top of the hill and looped it around. But you see great response there. That's Bailey Woods in the unlimited class BMW right behind him. Great reaction for him to dodge out of the way.
Some beautiful spots here. Now you can start to really see the speed that we've got from a few of these drivers as we kind of get this top-down drone perspective that gives you just gives you a bit more of an idea of how quick these vehicles really are at this track.
Yeah, see Josh Briggs jumping up there on the unlimited class ticker 136.575, following Dussault down the hill there. Sean Bassett, we saw earlier today. And then in track mod, Gary Wong returning again for another appearance here in the track mod category. Here's a look at the Lotus. Callan Spence, who reset the track mod rear-wheel drive record earlier this weekend, and Jackie Ding is going up against this car. Jackie Ding needs to beat this car this weekend, and it's looking unlikely given the time we've seen so far. And Callan Spence navigating turn 11, and Jonathan Grace caught up with him a little earlier today to talk about this car and this build.
In the garage here with Callan Spence. Callan's been a lot of talk about this car, I think at least amongst your competitors, about how much power this thing is capable of putting down, and it's a pretty unique build as well. Tell me a little bit about your Lotus.
Yeah, our Lotus is 1,000 horsepower. We were running it at 1,000 horsepower this morning, but it's very capable. I think the understated thing about this car right now, the big improvement we've had since Super Lap Out at COTA, is the drivability has just gotten really good. And we did a couple tuning with the front suspension. We're bottoming out less, and now it's a beast. It's super sharp right now.
How much more drivable is the car here? Laguna's a tricky circuit, a lot of complex corners. Everyone talks about the corkscrew, but turn 6 is important. There's a lot of really crucial medium speed corners. How's the car feel in the running so far?
Very balanced. High speed is still having a little bit of understeer. But under braking, and especially into the low speed, the rotation is just, I think, one of the best aspects of this car. Under braking right at the apex of the corner, the rotating is just instant, and you just get the car turned so quick.
Well, thanks, Callan. Best of luck this weekend, and one of the craziest track battle cars you see it on the grid this week.
Yeah, Jonathan, it is a crazy track battle car, and you see now Bailey Woods. I thought Woods was actually running an unlimited. Looks like it's a track mod car. A little push there for Callan Spence coming up onto the front straightaway. Look at how the wide stance of that thing comes across the stripe. Let's see what Spence has here. It was a 128.555. Not quite there, but notice Jackie Ding at a 138.67. Ding has got his work cut out for him here this weekend.
Yeah, but he's creeping his way up there, and this is, I mean, going back and rewatching a lot of stuff and the way that Jackie tends to kind of come out. He looks for that 10th every lap. He's coming out and going like, okay, where can I pull a bit of time out of it? He can definitely come out and big swing and pull out a crazy lap time at any moment. But knowing that this is a full weekend, you have some time. Let's start just scrubbing a 10th off wherever we feel like we can, and then see where it goes from there. So I'm expecting Jackie Ding to make this really, really close, but it may take a bit of time for him to get to that point.
Here's a look at Bailey Woods in the track mod BMW M3. Looks like it began as an E36 M3. There's been a lot done to it, and I just noted him because look at where he is on the timing and scoring, up to first in this session, first in track mod at a 129.046. And for Woods, that is that's a little bit of an improvement by about 0.4 of a second. And in track mod, that puts him right on the heels of Callan Spence. Just needs about a half second to get up to that Lotus. So really impressive start to this session. We'll see if he can eke some more out of it.
Yeah, should be able to. And I mean, a beautiful, beautiful car. The trailing arm suspension setup, and it means you can really, really get that car to dig out of it. It's going to make a ton of traction, and they're very predictable when they step out as well. Coming from the drifting side of things, these are one of the best drift cars that you can build, just because of their predictability and the amount of traction that you're actually able to make with the very, I wouldn't say unique suspension design, but it's just a great setup.
And here's Chris Boersma, one of our competitors from the Ontario, Canada region of the country, and he's one of our drivers that comes with us all over the U.S., and he's come a long, long ways in this K-tuned Honda Civic. It's seen a lot of track time over the years. This car, he drove his wife to prom in it.
Oh, wow.
Over a decade ago. Maybe 2 decades ago. It's been a little while.
Yeah, I mean, as a fellow Canadian, it's always good to see them out there, and I mean, listen, Canada's got its own racing pedigree. We don't produce a ton of drivers, but when we do, they're usually very, very good.
Well, Dewey said in the chat that the Midwest claims that part of Canada.
Oh, no, no, don't even start. Come on, Dewey, you're killing me here.
There's Boersma throttling up here. And again, he was a little bit concerned about the decibel limit here today at 105 dB. I don't think his car is all that loud, so he should be just fine. But across the stripe here, see if he'll jump up into the mix. I think the best he's done so far is, well, actually, he didn't have a lap time yet. This is his first laps of the day. A 1:35.933 will put him up on the board. But just trying to find a little time, and it's a front-wheel drive car as well, so the record he's shooting for is the record that he set here last year, and he's already beaten that. So there you go. There you go, new front-wheel drive track record. That'll be an extra point. Here's Jeremiah Burton again in the 321, the Trans Am. What do they call these? The Catfish Camaros?
Yeah, they do very much look like a Catfish. Yeah. So I think that name suits pretty well, and he's looking so much more comfortable in this session than we saw previous. It's starting to really come together for him. Not as much. I was going to say, I'll wait till it gets to the corner. Okay, we're good. Not as much stepping out as we saw in previous runs. Very, very tidy and much more collected than we had seen earlier today.
Oh, so there you go. Pick up 1:30.274 for Jeremiah Burton. That's his personal best of the weekend. All the while, Callan Spence, who we just saw go green, 1:27.559. That's 4 1/1000ths off of his best time of the weekend. So he's right there.
Yeah, definitely right there. So it's even as the day is coming to a close, these track times are getting better and better, and drivers are really starting to figure it out. I think the rubber has come into the track at this point. The traction is definitely there, and it's just a matter of finding a clear open window, especially in A group now that they're getting a little bit more run time. They're getting that full session, knock on wood. They're now really trying to figure it out.
Ooh, that was close.
Getting a little outside there, hunting down for those track limits.
Yeah, again, as long as you have a tire touching the line, you're good there, and that's one of those areas that does not have the outer white line. So if he had gone a little bit more, that would have been considered out of bounds, but he's still good for now.
Good dive into the corkscrew.
Yeah, it's kind of shallow line. He's been doing that shallow line, but that's okay because the track drops away so much that if you come in from the wide crest, you actually end up getting more air on your left front tire. It's good just to keep the thing settled if you're closer to the inside for that downhill drop.
Well, especially with a car that's running that low as well, you're going to start running into issues of bottoming things out, and you might run into
or just high centering, honestly.
Yeah, no, it's a solid point. So a bit more on that midline, but he's also got the power to be able to dig out of it afterwards. So doing pretty good, and we'll see if we get another drop in time on this lap.
No, when it stays at the 1:32.74, the thing makes great noises.
Yeah.
Cal Fortner, let's note him. We haven't seen him. They are all on it there in the trailer. Cal Fortner just ran a 1:32.6, and that was about a 10th quicker than he had run previously. Puts him to the top of Street Mod over Luca Barberis. Now, the bad news is I think Barberis ran quicker than that earlier. Barberis ran a 1:31.001, but Fortner is second, qualified into the podium sprint if things were to stop here. So this bodes well for him in his championship fight against Jamie Santos. I haven't seen Santos yet. He's had a habit of coming out late in the session when the track is a little clearer, and we'll see if he gets out there and lays something down or if he's going to wait for tomorrow morning.
Yeah, it looks like Cal packing it in, heading in towards the pits, it seems. So he's going to be hopefully happy with that.
There's Jamie Santos on the pit lane, hazards on. I'm not sure if he's planning on going back out. I don't know that we have all that much time left in the session, so he's probably at risk of failing to start a new flying lap before the checkers. I hear, is that the Lotus I hear coming by? I think it was. Across the stripe, was it on the timing and scoring? No, I didn't see the timer blip. Here's Jackie Ding. And Jackie's, he improved still, a 1:29.924, but has to get a couple of seconds. Now, I think he's run in the 27s here in the past, but still hunting some of that time. And there's been a lot of changes made to this car in the last year or so.
Yeah, we talked about his development with the Supra, and the BMW in this case is just another part of his history, his career, and what he's trying to do. So maybe, you know, able to get those times down in a different chassis. I'm not sure if he did it in this chassis, but either way, as I alluded to previously, Jackie's just he's gonna peck away at it. He's gonna pull tenths out of every corner over the period of every session, and eventually get to that point where you go, oh, there's the time he's been looking for. So take a little bit of time, but I'm sure Jackie Ding will be very, very close to fighting at the front of the pack. Being that far back, that says to me there's something that they're working on, not that he's driving it all out and that's all the car's giving him.
I think that's Gabe Zamora in the Porsche 911 that he's been chasing in the past here, and yeah, that is Gabe in that Porsche 911. And Jackie last year came fourth with a 130.950, his best time of 130.902 when he was here in 2024. He was fourth. Gabe Zamora was second, and I think for, let's see what 23 held for Jackie.
We got a car off track, it looks like.
Oh, was that the Civic? I
believe so. Just got the rear end of that off into the corner, so we'll have to see. I'm not seeing any yellow flags out, so that's interesting. So let's see what the marshals pick up on that one. Maybe letting it ride out because of how far off track, but it doesn't seem correct to me.
Yeah, it might just be covered by a local yellow up there, and that will allow us to kind of finish this out. About an hour and 10 into the session means that we're almost done. So let's see what Zamora's got. As far as the podium sprint qualifying goes, basically those top 5 that are shown there, I think, are going to be your qualifiers for now. Again, we still have 3 more sessions to sort this out, but Zamora, no pickup that time for him. Stays at a 31.8, and for Zamora, that is quicker than his best earlier today by about 0.2 of a second. Jackie Ding picks up 129.7, so a slight improvement.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it's kind of what I'm expecting out of his driving this weekend, and just going to have to keep hacking away at it and hopefully get down to that 127.
Oh, Max just slaying it on the drone shot there. That was absolutely gorgeous with the pan, too.
Yeah.
But, you know, the thing for Jackie Ding, what he might have on his side is reliability, because we don't really know what this 1,000-horsepower Lotus is going to do throughout the weekend, and there's a chance that that car has some problems, and that could really help him in podium sprint. That was a little wide there for Zamora as the checkered flag comes out. When we get to podium sprint, we wipe all the times, and you're just going head-to-head for 3 laps, and that might be something Jackie Ding has the upper hand on. So we'll see how it pans out. You're right, it is Chris Boersma. He's pulled well off the racetrack, so that was great of him to do. And this will be the last streamed part of the day here, so we'll wrap up with results after we get the checker here and finish out. Be back with you tomorrow morning. So great first day of action here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Gabe Zamora pushing down the hill here in this Porsche 911.
Yeah, he's given it basically everything, maybe getting the indication that it's going to be a wrap on his day. So he's really pushing it, flirting with track limits pretty much at every corner, doing it again at 5 and 6 as we saw previously, but no, pulling it in, electing to call that time, and hopefully that's the best that he's able to put down at least today as we close things down on our last session of the day.
Let's have a look at our results here for Heat 3, Group A, B, and C, and D. Here's a look at the Club SC results. Mike Jansen at the top of the order in that session, but still chasing Sam Dooling this weekend. Dooling has a 149.8 that Jansen still needs to improve on. Courtney Ward and Bob Miller also moving up in a pretty solid session for those drivers there, Jacob, as we have a look at Club TR.
Yeah, Club TR is still incredibly fascinating for me, and I love the way that we have some pretty tight times in there, as well as drivers that can definitely make up a bit more time. So for Ramon Mikel, I mean, he's got it in him. He can definitely clear that up. But right now, for Mario, sitting on top, 139, almost flat. So that might be a tough time to beat as his next competitor. That's almost 2 seconds off that pace.
Yeah, 0.8 off of his best of the weekend. It was look at street class here, though. It was, again, Joshua Halka leading the way over Willem Dries, who's battling for 3rd in the championship standings. Rafael Guerrero, Luke Lederman, and Jeremy Eaton, the rest of your top 5. We move into Street GT. This one's been a battleground. Mark Kilgore jumps up to the top in that session by a good bit. No one else ready to respond, even Joe Drain and Unizai, who Kilgore was chasing. They've got some work to do if they want to catch up to him. And, of course, TJ Keon again with the V8. Not eligible for Club SE, where that car probably belongs, but still running laps in that 305 Crown Victoria.
Yeah, definitely wins with the laughs and smiles. We now get into Street Mod. Cal Fortner topping the times right now, 132.6. Luca Barberis, he's definitely getting in there right on the heels of it. And, I mean, the rest of the Group shipping pretty tight, all within about a second and a half.
Yeah, looking really good there. Ravi Mirage, Chris Watson in that top 5 area. Look at how deep Street Modified is. Jamie Santos didn't get a time in this session. That's critical. We'll see if he can make it up tomorrow morning and have a shot at qualifying into the podium sprint with a little bit more pace than he had earlier today. Look at Track Mod. This has been a battleground, another fairly sizable class. Callan Spence at 127.559. Bailey Woods, Jackie Ding, Gabe Zamora, Cody Bulkley. This is going to be a fun podium sprint this weekend. Chris Boersma, mechanical issues, but P7 for now. And in Unlimited, it has been pretty fun to watch. Jessica, this is the tail end of Track Mod here. Jessica Powers, Josh Powers, Damon Hattori in that C2 Corvette, and Ari Hanna. And then in the Unlimited category, we saw Mike Dussault lead the way. Leaf Storer in the 280, then Tom Tang, Briggs, Bassett, and Raducel, and the number 789 Miata. And then in the Super Unlimited category, it's cool that we have almost a page worth of Super Unlimited to look at here in a moment's time. But we're going to have a look here at the highlights for the GRIDLIFE Track Battle Championship. There's the Super Unlimited results. Vaschholz, Burton, Danny Aitken, and Birdsall, your top 4 there.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a spread, but Super Unlimited, always a great time, always something cool, and just sets a lot of aspirations for a lot of drivers to see what is out there and maybe start matching some times with some vehicles that are pretty ridiculous. So when you're ripping around in a Civic and you're looking out on a full spec race car, knowing that you're within a few tenths, that's got to be a great feeling.
Let's have a look at results here for Track Battle qualifying 3 here from WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, in the heat of the afternoon from one of America's most historic racetracks. And again, it was a fun afternoon with a lot of track time after some shortening of the sessions earlier today. Highlights from GRIDLIFE Track Battle Heat 3. It started off with Club SC, Courtney Ward getting back on track, Matthew Reinhardt and TJ Keon stealing the show early with that Crown Victoria, hucking it around here, WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. And then Scott Birdsall out there in the Legends car.
Yeah, just another fun vehicle and trying to figure out, okay, where else can you fit when something that is this unique? And then, this Hyundai doing incredible things with version 2 halfway, near the end of the season.
Sean Bassett getting the job done there in the 240Z. A little bit of wiggling and wobbling. There's the C2 Corvette. Such a cool build there in that number 427 as we worked our way up into the groups. Down the hill there's the 712 GR Super, one of 9 that we've got in the Track Battle Championship here this weekend. That ever-present B58. Steven Scheifer, big lateral slide there, coming back up onto the front straightaway. Josh Hulka also joining the Slippy Slidey Fun Club down through Rainy Curve, leading in street class. Of course, Mike Dussault leading in Unlimited with that 2,000 horsepower Camaro. And then it was Callan Spence topping the charts again in Track Mod in the number 152, continuing to set mid-127 lap times. Bailed out of the way because Bailey Woods was on a mission to jump up near the top step as well. Up all ahead of Jackie Ding, who needs to win and track record this weekend in order to win the Track Mod title. But Gabe Zamora, another driver in a Porsche 911.
Down the corkscrew, we had Eibach GLTC, we had GRIDLIFE's GLGT, and of course our Track Battle Time Attack cars. 2 days of action left here in Monterey. Join us tomorrow. We'll see you, but that's all from today. We'll see you in the morning.
Marcel,